Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session on DeFi for Africa. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about DeFi at this particular event, and so we are going to continue talking about DeFi because, as we've all said, it is the future. But before we start, just a quick one. How many of you think crypto is going to the moon? Show by hand. Okay, so let me come again. How many of you think crypto is the future? Okay, great. I see we have a couple of naysayers in the audience. Hopefully, by the time we are done with this particular session, you would be convinced. Okay, so I have an amazing set of people on this panel. So I'm going to go around and let them just introduce themselves real quick and tell us what they are working on. But before we do that, my name is Elisha. I work for CoinTelegraph. So if you've seen that we are covering the event on CoinTelegraph, I've been behind that. CoinTelegraph is excited to partner with anybody who is in the African space and work together. Okay, so Vicentia, please introduce yourself.
Okay, so hello. Yeah. My name is Vicentia Asilevi. I'm the Director of Operations for Tezos in Africa. And I also have a community, so I do crypto education, blockchain, and sharing opportunities. So let me talk about Tezos Africa. We've had a lot of projects and protocols, startups building on Tezos. But I would like to share two highlights. So somewhere in 2020, we had Société Générale. They have a subsidiary called Forge. That subsidiary is basically in charge of piloting, blockchain solutions. So they selected Tezos for CBDC experimentations, and I think it's really great because they basically wanted to see how feasible it is to have digital assets settled and delivered in CBDCs, and that was particularly for the Bank of France. So that was something really interesting. And then just last year, Société Générale still they kind of issued their first, structured product. That was a security token, and that was on the Tezos blockchain. They also did that on Ethereum, and I believe what's really interesting about this is that it had all the compliance, legal, regulatory compliance that it needed, and I feel like this is really, really great news for the space. So banks are able to pilot and have products like that. I feel like it's something that is like, apart from all the bad news we hear, this is a green light to see that there are more interesting things that is going to come in the space. So I think that's basically what I would say.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Vicentia. I remember when Tezos came out first, I invested in the ICO. So to be here with someone from Tezos on the panel, it's really interesting. Okay, so we have Adebajo. Please introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you. So like you said, my name is Adebajo Adedayo. So I currently represent Jelurida Africa. And Jelurida Africa is an extension, a third-party affiliation to the Switzerland-based blockchain software company. So I joined them back in 2018, and then we have the extension of the office started from Nigeria in late 2018, from where we established in Tanzania, Ghana, Rwanda, and Kenya. And I also currently represent a couple of other platforms, each with their own distinctive value proposition. Like we recently launched the Africa Biot Labs, which is basically about blockchain and IoT synergy, creating solutions to solve integral problems for Africa. Then I also represent Africa Blockchain Institute and also a couple of other platforms, each with their own value proposition. So pretty much what we focus attention on, we so much believe in education, so we spend a lot of our time educating people on what blockchain technology is across some domains in Africa. We also do consultancy with both the private and the public sectors. So anywhere, any country we go to, we tend to have relationship with the government and also the private sector to see where they currently are on blockchain. Is it on capacity building, solution deployment, regulatory framework, to see how we can, foster further adoption for blockchain technology. Thank you.
Okay, Cannelle, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
So, hello, I'm the founder of Koolute Investments. So Koolute is, we're an early stage startup. Started beginning of this year, January. Now we're a property platform that focuses on bringing more transparency, security, and accessibility to real estate investment in Francophone Africa. And we're starting with Senegal. So we have core areas of focus, which are property verification and valuation, of course, transaction management, housing financing solutions, and education and awareness about real estate investment opportunity in Francophone Africa. But right now, what we've been focused on mostly is accuracy of data when it comes to property verification, right? Because there's not enough transparency, there's not enough formal digitized records of title deeds in Senegal. So that's the work we've been doing for the past 2 years.
Awesome. So we've had a couple of people talk about DeFi, as I said earlier. So before I ask what is DeFi, all of us don't need to explain what DeFi is. So anyone can really take this question. So I'm going to ask now, what is DeFi and who wants to take it? Anyone? Okay, sure. So I'll let her talk, and then if you have another explanation, we could look into that. Okay, so Vicentia, please go ahead.
Okay, so DeFi, I believe we all know decentralized finance. So basically, it's like banking on the blockchain. So what we have in a traditional finance, so we have many interesting products. We have insurance, we have savings, we have loans, so borrowing and lending, trading in traditional finance. We have the same products on the blockchain, and that is DeFi. Now, there's something really unique about this because I just said that we have these in the traditional finance. What makes the difference is the blockchain. The blockchain makes DeFi permissionless and peer-to-peer, decentralized. So this unique feature of DeFi with the blockchain makes it really accessible. There are so many benefits I can start talking about when we decide to compare the traditional finance to decentralized finance. But basically, when you think about banking on the blockchain, it's DeFi, and there are so many amazing things that you can do with DeFi. We have borrowing and lending, insurance, we have trading, various types of trading. We can look at tokenization, and so many things. So I think this is pretty much.
Okay, so does anyone think otherwise? That maybe DeFi is something else, or we should be looking at DeFi in a different way? Cannelle, do you have anything to add to that, or we are good?
No, it's pretty on point. I would say respective to our industry, which is real estate, right? We have the fastest growing population in Africa. So the demand for housing finance is also increasing. Adequate housing finance solutions, right? And I think that DeFi presents a lot of opportunities, whether you talk about tokenization, right, or NFT, or having more liquidation. However, I think that there has to be a foundation first, a fundamental problem, which is data, and that's why I said that the core focus is first creating a land registry where the property features are accurate, right? Where you have irrefutable proof of ownership of that title deed. So with accurate data, then you get accurate property valuation, right? Then you get accurate market analysis overall. And then you can think about incorporating solutions like DeFi. And that's what I was saying.
Interesting. We are going to get back to the conversation on housing financing real quick. But before we go back into technical stuff, let's talk about some things that are not so technical. So let's discuss what's happening now. A little bit of speculation. I'm sure no one has mentioned what's happening with the crypto market or conference or throughout the summit, but we have to talk about it. So is crypto dead or is DeFi dead just because the market is down and we're experiencing what people will call a bear run? I'll start with Adebajo.
I said, hopefully nobody will get too emotional with this question because I'm pretty sure a lot of people have lost some money to the current crypto market. But the question if crypto is dead, of course not. Because when we look at it, it's not just the crypto market. I mean, Facebook, all the stocks, everything is currently going down. So, and people have been warning about a meltdown coming up, economic meltdown coming up. So it's, a lot of people are bracing for the impact already, and some people are still currently bracing. And just like I also have a conversation earlier with somebody from Bitmama. So this is actually a time to currently accommodate. So when the price is going down, keep on buying because, of course, we believe that it is not dead. It is only probably hibernating, and in a couple of probably months or even years, anything can happen. Eventually, it would go back up. So it's not dead.
Okay, Cannelle, thoughts on the crypto market, if any at all? Do you think crypto is dead, or do you think it's just like one of those things?
No, it's going to filter out those that are like the project that were sustainable and those that are not sustainable. So I think it's a good period to see which were which had the better built up from the beginning.
Okay, so basically a great time for us to shake out the weak hands in terms of investors and even companies, right? Okay, so Vicentia, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to summarize it like we are really going to make it, So we are going to make it because there are so many macroeconomic factors that's affecting it. We can talk about COVID, we can talk about the war, we can talk about inflation, we can talk about so many things, but just as they've said, in this period, we are seeing a lot of, the truth is that there are so many cryptocurrencies, but many of them claim to solve certain problems, but in actual sense, they don't. So we've seen, if you are to compare the market cap, the first 10 cryptocurrencies from the past 10 years till now, we are going to see an amazing trend. There are some coins which exist and which don't, and then that's because they couldn't survive these kind of cycles. And not to mention that we also have things like the SEC, things like environmental concerns, things like protecting, there's so many fad here and there, but I believe that we are going to go through this, we are going to weather the storm and come out stronger as an industry, and then also, we will become more robust and kind of insulated against serious volatile moments like this. So these things are normal. It's not so abnormal. We are going to go through it, and then we are going to make it. So
so I think you said something towards the end of your answer, and I think it's something that is dear to my heart, the conversation of us moving away from being affected by traditional issues that affect traditional finance, because we say this is the future and it's decentralized and it's different, but then every time we are supposed to explain why we are suffering in terms of like market conditions or just general users not using DeFi anymore, we fall back on the same issues. Oh, a government somewhere did something wrong and that's why prices are down. I think as time goes on, we need to move away from being affected by these things. But then probably this also means that we are still new and we are still early into the game, and as we evolve, that will change. So let's talk about adoption on the African continent. From where you sit, and it doesn't have to be entirely accurate, because I think everybody has a different perspective on adoption. I think adoption in Africa is being exaggerated to a large extent. The research that comes out in most instances is not properly done, but we see the headlines, 70% of people in X country are buying cryptocurrencies, when we are in the country and we don't see 70% of the people buying cryptocurrencies. So I'm going to start with Cannelle when it comes to this one. What is adoption of DeFi in Africa like from where you sit?
I start, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I would say there has to be education and market readiness. And I'm speaking for Senegal. It's not there yet, right? You have to understand, like I said, again, the fundamentals before you can even develop a system that people can adopt, right? So education first, and then we'll get there eventually. But the market is not ready for that just yet.
Okay, so for you, from your experiences in Senegal, we are not there yet at all, right?
No.
Okay,
no.
awesome.
So people are interested. People are interested in learning more. How does it work, right? But if you have, it's not ready to be fully implemented, I would say. I'm speaking for Koolute, because we wanted to incorporate DeFi in early stage.
Really hard. Yeah, awesome. Adebajo, Nigeria, the biggest market on the African continent.
There has been a couple of solutions being deployed in the DeFi ecosystem, trying to enable people to have access to funding, to send funds, to loan. And it's still currently developing. And in a way, it's actually quite impressive what we have been able to do so far. And the kind of community they are also building, also from the ground level, from the foundation, going to the universities, to the campuses to build community. So it's actually quite strong. And that is for Nigeria. And of course, when you also look at countries like Tanzania, Kenya, and so on, so a lot of people are also looking into all this. And talking about the government support, and I think I would actually like to applaud the current movement in Tanzania, considering the fact that the president actually made it one of the first statements she made when she became the president, to look into blockchain and cryptocurrency, enabling all the ministries to also do the same. And in a way, they are currently focusing attention on capacity building, which they are currently doing a very good job. And at the outcome of all this, they all tend to look into solution deployments to enable the country to be boosted in terms of the economy and all. So, and when you look at other countries as well across Africa, in a way, they tend to look at the people who have been able to do it. I recall the conversation we had in Rwanda with the Ministry of ICT. They were asking about the in-era, like, what's your project like? So they also want to learn from probably the mistakes that some people have made, or probably some positive outcomes some people have also been able to have experience on. And in a way, when we also look at outside of Africa this time around, in France, I recently read that the governor of the central bank in France was also looking into the possibility of deploying a DeFi application for their own central bank digital currency. So focusing attention on the stable coin to see how they can provide liquidity similar to what is being done by the investment banks. So this is also something that most of the African countries will also be looking into, emulating. So people want to see what the other people have been able to do so that they can learn from their mistakes, or also trying to build their own solution on top of other people's successes.
Thank you. Vicentia.
Okay, let me speak for Ghana. I would say adoption here is really steady, and more education is actually needed, because there are many people sitting on the fence because they really do not understand what this whole thing is about. Okay. Maybe they think that it's a fad, or it's just something that is just going to go away. So for Ghana, I mean, okay, people say, and I think I believe to an extent that there's this high wait and see attitude here. Okay, so let's wait and see. Let's see what's going to happen. So a lot of people are on the fence. I think I spoke to some artists about NFTs, and the excitement, the enthusiasm is not there. It's like, I have to force you, that kind of thing. So it's steady, and I believe that with education, we can gradually get there. But for Ghana, we have a really long way to go. But I see that in terms of stable coins, some people are understanding the concept. Because if you're in Ghana, you'll notice that USDT has had a bull run against the cedi this year so far. I mean, immense. And people are beginning to understand that, okay, so if I was having the dollar by now, like, I would have hedged against inflation. So these things are kind of making sense to the laymen out there, and they are understanding the concepts. Maybe we can talk about stable coins for now, because some people are understanding it and even thinking of saving in stable coins. So I think it's slow and steady, and we'll get there with education.
Yeah, I think we've seen a huge increase in the popularity of stable coins in Ghana, and even in Nigeria, because of our currencies and the nature of these currencies. And stable coins are at the heart of DeFi. The wait and see attitude is a very interesting one. I remember in 2016-17, I told people about crypto and DeFi, and they'll laugh. And then I think when Bitcoin hit 60K, people started calling, how do I set up a wallet? And I'm like, oh, I don't think this is the best time. And they don't listen, and they set it up, and then it all started coming down. And you see them writing on Twitter, oh my gosh, crypto is a scam. And I'm like, no, you came in at the wrong time. Anyway, so I think if we are all saying that education is important, people are adopting the wait and see attitude, or people are not just ready to get their feet wet, maybe it's a conversation of us being able to show them real-world examples of what DeFi is capable of doing for people. So, I mean, I'm going to start with myself, and I'm going to go around. You could mention like something that DeFi has done for you or for someone around you. So, personally, I am not so old, and I have never worked anywhere else aside the crypto and DeFi space. So, I am employed because DeFi and crypto exists, but that is even like a straightforward thing. For those of you who don't know, a lot of DeFi platforms try to reward users for their engagement. So at the core of the conception of DeFi is the idea that the users are not a means to an end, but the users are an end in themselves, right? So instead of using the users to get, let's say, money or to raise revenue, if a platform is raising revenue or is gaining value as a result of the users must have access to that value and must benefit from it. And that's why you see things like airdrops. So companies give out tokens, governance tokens, or tokens with different use cases to various users who adopted that particular platform early on when the platform was probably underdeveloped or less popular. So I think the biggest example of the earliest airdrops would be the Uniswap airdrop, where out of nowhere, Uniswap announced that they were giving out 1,400 uni coins to everyone that had used Uniswap. At that time, people made thousands of dollars as a result of those airdrops. I was not in the Uniswap airdrop because, just like she said, like the Ghanaian that I am, I was adopting a wait-and-see approach. But then after that Uniswap thing, I realized, okay, I'm not quite sure what I'm waiting for anymore. So I got into a lot of projects, and one of the biggest benefits in DeFi is to be sitting in your room. You probably didn't see the money coming, and someone announces that, oh, we are doing an airdrop, and all of a sudden you're $1,000, $2,000 richer. And that's just one of the several ways that DeFi can change your life, even when you don't expect it. So these are personal experiences that I can share. I don't know about the rest of you, so I'll start with Vicentia.
Okay, so I would also want to talk about, okay, so personally and people I know, that is savings. So people have developed the culture of saving in stable coins, and it's amazing. We also have some platforms, maybe centralized platforms and apps that have saving challenges. So maybe they can say save $1 a day using the concept of dollar cost averaging. We even have centralized platforms that have automated this, right? So you can have recurring buy. So this is something that has, it's really powerful, because if you have to look at the CD in January, around 6 CDs, and today it's around, the last time I checked, it was 10 CDs, 70 pesos. We are almost doubling, means you could have made 100% in a matter of months. So you'll be able to hedge against inflation, and then, you have some power, some more buying or purchasing power. So saving is one stable coins is one of the fundamental aspects of DeFi. So having stable coins and people being able to save, when you walk into a bank that you want a dollar account, depending on the bank, it can be a hell of a time. Like, they will tell you this. Sometimes even you need to pay account management fees for a dollar account. But here in DeFi, you can set up a wallet, a decentralized wallet or a non-custodial wallet, start saving. If you're going to use the centralized exchanges or even centralized exchanges, it's going to give you value. So that is one thing I want to talk about. Another thing is remittances. Now, I can virtually send money to somebody, and in a matter of minutes, maybe in UK, the money is there. Fees are very, very low. But if you are to look at the banking system or the traditional finance, where bank transfer or anything, it can take like 2 to 3 days to clear. But in DeFi, it's almost immediate, right, depending on whichever network you're using. So remittances is now very, very easy. You can send money cheaper if you compare to traditional finance. So I think these are two very powerful things, like impacts that I can see and I can feel in using DeFi. I want to share. Yeah.
Okay, talking about the CD, I like to use the iPhone as an example. So the base model of the iPhone Pro, when it came out, it's always $1,000 since the iPhone X. I think when the X came out, or 10, it was 5,600, 6,000 Ghana cedis, because that's what the Ghana CD to dollar ratio was, right? 2 generations later, iPhone 12, it's now 8,600, and now it's 2022, 14 Pro is out. Those of you who follow Twitter, like Ghana Twitter, you've seen the prices that are being mentioned. But if you do the convention, it's about like 11,000, 12,000. And that is to show you how bad the Ghana CD has been over the last 4 years, over the last 5 years. And so it's almost impossible for anybody who wants to save money and actually keep their value to save their money in the Ghana CD. I'm so happy the regulators are not here today, because I don't know, but that's another conversation that we could probably look into as we get on. But yeah, Adebajo, real life experiences of DeFi.
For me, it's mostly about it's been a disruptive technology, disrupting the circular flow of income, which is the basics of how the decentralized banking system is currently being operated. But when we can have a decentralized government, why can't we have a decentralized finance? It just occurred to me, why should people be afraid when we're actually trying to solve more problems, more than the banks can actually be able to solve? Because it all boils down to you creating more opportunities for people in a way that they will be able to afford the banking system. If you are trying to bank the unbanked, if somebody can't even afford a square meal, how can you expect them to be able to save? How can you expect them to be able to provide loans? And decentralized finance is actually trying to solve a couple of all these problems, making sure that there is nothing like being biased nature of the banking system to provide loans to some certain set of people. limiting some other people from carrying out their own dreams. So DeFi, in a way, creates more solutions. Yeah, there's definitely need for regulation. There's definitely need for a lot of all these legal implications to be looked into. But then definitely we are creating more solutions than problems, if you ask me, if being done correctly. So, and personally, I've been in the blockchain space for a little bit over 6 years, and for me, it has been the best moment of my life so far. And in a way, I think through what we have been able to do, we've also been able to impact a lot of lives. Nigeria, they say we have probably the highest population in Africa, but if you look at the current engaged people from the undergraduate level to the postgraduates to the, to the aged, how many people are actually able to, get a couple of things for themselves? But thank God to blockchain, thank God to crypto, everybody is now quite doing well without the government. Personally, I've not been able to benefit from the government, from the level of their education, to getting jobs. So everybody is currently being responsible for their own well-being. And in a way, I would say thank God to crypto. I'm here today. So I'm a living example of what blockchain and cryptocurrency can actually achieve in the life of a human being. Thanks.
Awesome. That's powerful. Cannelle, your turn.
Yes. So the use case for me was when I acquired a property using cryptocurrency, right? And that's what made me create Koolute as well. And we did that in Dubai about 4 years ago, right? So that was through a prop tech company called Proppy. And there was trouble getting funding out of Senegal in the first place. But with cryptocurrency, it was feasible. So for me, that was the light bulb where I said, okay, so that's a solution actually for liquidity and to be able to move money around across continents. Yeah.
Interesting.
And for the fees as well.
Oh, awesome. So let's get into what each person is working on in the space. I'll ask you questions around what you're working on. So for Cannelle, you're working on DeFi and housing. It's pretty difficult for a lot of people to get a house these days. It's not just an issue in Africa. I think there's a housing bubble everywhere, apparently. I haven't lived it, but I've seen like lots of articles, everybody's complaining. How can DeFi enter such a sector and create change moving forward?
Well, I sort of answered it at the beginning where I told you that you have to focus on the underlying issue, which is accuracy of data first, for better credit rating, for more trust, for more transparency, right? Before you can even implement a solution like a financing solution with DeFi. So that's what we're doing. Once you will have that, once you'll have, okay, we know that Koolute, we know that in Senegal you can go to a platform where the properties are verified, where the data is accurate, right? Where I know that the ownership of this title deed is undisputable, right? Once you have that foundation, then you can start looking at even not necessarily DeFi, but financing solutions in general, right? And the mortgage market can grow, right? So that's my stance so far, because that was the reality with Koolute as well, where we said, okay, let's get to getting accurate data first and getting a proper registry with verified properties first.
So, quick question on the housing DeFi conversation. Is there a world where maybe like people could get funding through DeFi loans to get houses? Because I think one of the biggest problems is the conversation about data. Because in Ghana, we've seen people sell lands to several people, people sell properties to several people, and that is the foundation. But as we build on top of that foundation and we get to the point where the houses exist, is it possible that DeFi could be the answer to how people buy that? And how do you see that like happening moving forward?
Yes, in terms of being able to create easier access and faster access to loans. For example, you can have DeFi as that. I think you have a lot of microfinancing companies that are trying to incorporate that right now, right? And we're in discussion to have like in-house solution, but also integrating partners that already have these solutions, right?
Okay. Awesome. So Vicentia, Tezos, right? If someone is here and they want to get into DeFi, why should they choose Tezos? Because there are so many blockchains that are competing for users. We have Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, L2 platforms like Arbitrum, Optimism. The list goes on and on. So why would anyone choose Tezos if they are building, or why would anyone choose Tezos if they just want to be degens, speculate on various DeFi platforms?
Okay, so before I talk about Tezos being a choice, I think The main thing that I would like to emphasize on is the fact that we do a lot of education first, right? So we don't come and say, okay, like speculate on Tezos. We want education to go out first because first of all, if you don't understand cryptocurrencies, blockchain, you will not really know what to do, right? So we do a lot of education. Let me talk about Tezos in terms of Ghana. We do a lot of education in terms of Africa, organizing seminars and all. But Tezos in itself is a very unique platform that has this self-amendment platform. So there are no forks here. I know we had Ethereum having this, the merge, the most anticipated event. It was really interesting. So Tezos in its own is a proof of stake platform. So being a proof of stake platform, it's really interesting for build, right? And also the network itself is able to upgrade itself, amend itself without any, having any forks or anything of that sort. So that makes a really unique protocol. Another thing is that there are lots of resources that will help you. Like if you're a builder, you have a lot of support in the system if you want to build using the Tezos blockchain. And if you want to, speculate or get into DeFi, the first thing is education. We have a lot of resources that kind of help you to understand exactly what to do, what protocol to choose, because there are so many, protocols and startups on the Tezos blockchain. Of course, you need to choose what's the best, right? So the main two things I've talked about is the fact that there's a lot of support for builders, and when it comes to just people who want to get started with DeFi, we do a lot of education to let you understand the space you're getting into. Yeah.
Awesome. So we'll now move on to Jelurida. People who want to adopt DeFi, people who want to build smart contracts, how do they get in touch with you in terms of like why should they get in touch with you, and what is the benefit they get when they work with you as compared to other projects?
So pretty much, the platform that people can actually use when deploying their own solution under Jelurida, we have the Ardo technology, which is a second phase of development from the NXT, which was developed in 2013. Then after the Ardo, we have being the first parent-child chain architecture enabling what was it called, a single entity to have several child chains supported. Then having the parent chain to actually take care of all the securities, which is one of the major problems being faced in the blockchain ecosystem. And of course, being a platform that also supports Oracle smart contracts. So you're able to feed your platform with data resources outside of the blockchain infrastructure. The smart contract basically it's only the if-then equation, which basically uses what is being made available to it. But then if you are deploying a solution which is going to be very robust in and access to data or information outside of the trusted circle. So the Oracle data source can actually provide you with enough data to be able to make quality decisions in the insurance sector, in the health sector, anywhere that you think you have adequate information to be able to plug into your smart contracts to easily deploy. So that makes it easier. Then, being there for several years without having any issue on the blockchain network also makes it kind of stable for people to consider using it. Then aside from that, we also provide, under the new umbrella, we provide several, opportunities such as incubation, acceleration programs and all. So we also provide consultancy. One of the major things that we've been able to do so far is the advisory aspect based on existing information. We partnered with some platforms who carry out investigative reporting to look at the existing problems being faced across Africa, and then we are able to look into how we can actually use blockchain to solve them. So by the time we are advising our clients, it is based on the existing problems that we've been able to identify, and then we were able to propose quality solutions for them to look into deployment.
Awesome. So let's look at the future. Now that we've spoken about the present, from the price issues to adoption, and to how everyone here is working one way or another to ensure adoption. The next question I'd want to ask all of us is, in the next 5 years, how do we see DeFi shaping up on the African continent? So for me, I think DeFi would become an important player when it comes to loans. I know we've mentioned loans on this panel, and we've heard a lot of people talk about loans, but currently, not everyone can walk to a bank and get a loan that is worth it. So I'm sure someone is like, oh, I hear you guys have loans via mobile money. But mobile money loans are not loans that are worth it. I use mobile money a lot. I don't know how they do the credit score, and if anybody's here and they want to explain it to me after, I'd love to know. But the last time I checked how much loan I could take, I think it's worth like $26, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with $26 if I really need money. So I think moving forward, people are definitely going to need more than $26, and DeFi would definitely be the place they can go for money that is worth it when they want loans. So I see a lot of changes happening on the African continent concerning loans, with DeFi at the heart of it. So I'll start with Adebajo. What do you think DeFi is going to look like in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, starting with the fact that you made mention of loans, which is quite interesting. I mean, when you look at the population in Africa and how many people can actually afford a square meal, and people who want to go into businesses. So people tend to look into getting loans from the sharks, the giants, who eventually, let's say, for example, in Ghana, you want to get a loan of about 20,000 Ghana cedis. Then eventually, after you've been profiled, you're told that you're only entitled to getting about 5,000 Ghana cedis. Then you have a dream that you can actually get done with 20,000. What exactly is 10 to 5,000 going to get you? Only into more debts. And of course, these loan sharks don't really care how you get the money to be paid back. But when we look at the possibilities of actually deploying DeFi into all these to solve these problems, you look into the possibility of, we're decentralizing the entire financial industry, enabling everybody to become their own banks. So which means the loan ecosystem can actually be very competitive, enabling everybody who has money in their own bank account to become what's called a loan giver. So which means the interest rate becomes more competitive. You have various varieties to look into. And even aside from that, let's look at the real use cases or the real utility for the loans being obtained from the banks. What exactly are they using it for? Some people want to go into the businesses. Is it all it takes to start a business, the money? No, we actually need real assets, which can actually be tokenized in terms of that can also be called a sort of financing. So when we look at applying DeFi in this particular area, we're looking at providing not just the money, but also the assets that it requires to start a business, to make the business very, very successful. So even if it is services that you have, this can also be tokenized in a way. Let's say you have access to a lot of a database, which can be a prospective customer to someone. This can actually be tokenized on the DeFi ecosystem to make it something that will eventually give you returns over time. And this is also some sort of assets or let's say capital required by somebody to start a business. So it's not just about the money. Okay, even the money is very, very, important. But what exactly would they use the money to do? Getting what's it called a shop, getting some machineries to start. So all these are actually available somewhere. Okay, but then provided the liquidity is not really all that much available. So if you can tokenize this, you can turn them into assets that can actually be classified as loans as well. So empower them enough to be able to start a business, not just give them loans, which is not even enough for them to do anything that they want to do. So this can actually be the next application for DeFi in making sure the ecosystem is actually booming and not just enabling the loan sharks to levy about 50% to 100% interest on not even enough loans for them to start any business. So empowering everybody to become a loan giver, and also in a way, qualitatively, in a way, improving the way we deploy our solutions to solve our real problems. So DeFi, to me, is the future, and in the next couple of years, is going to turn Africa into the place that we all dream is to be, a better place.
Awesome, Vicentia.
All right, so basically, I see a lot of the use cases in play already in Africa. So talking about the loans, talking about remittances, talking about savings. We've not seen so much about insurance, but I think that it's another area that can be explored. So for example, we can have maybe a crop insurance. So we say have a smart contract, because basically DeFi is code smart contracts replacing what people would have done. So what a bank would have done, what the insurance company would have done. Smart contracts replace that. So let's say we write a smart contract that says that maybe if the temperature of goes beyond a particular range for a number of days or something, some kind of insurance should be paid off to the farmers, and that's interesting. So, we have sometimes people don't like insurance because they say when it's time to get paid, there's a whole lot of wahala. So with having smart contracts do their job, there's transparency, and we can have your insurance proceeds paid to you when it's time and when the conditions require that. And beyond all these, one thing I want to really look at is, we've talked about all these wonderful and amazing use cases, but I want to also mention that in 5 years, I want to see more of these coming from Africa. All right, coming here, we've seen a lot of amazing projects. So we need to see more of these coming from Africa, and there are a lot of support. We've seen the funding talks that we had. And I want to also say that Tezos Africa actually has a grant program. So if you want to build in DeFi, the metaverse, whatever idea that you have, we have a small grants program that can support you, not only giving you the funding, but also helping you, build that kind of idea you want. Okay, and that's one aspect. Another very key thing is that we see a lot of unemployment in Africa and in Ghana, but I've seen crypto and blockchain do an amazing thing. We have people who are community managers earning as much as $100 a week. We have people working in various aspects of DeFi, crypto, and all. So that's one thing that I really want to see, that a lot of people are having jobs beyond trading, beyond investing, beyond let's say speculation. We have people who have careers in the space, because this space pays you for your experience, and knowledge. I don't know, there's no mainstream university that's looking at blockchain certificates or some professional courses, but we have people who are doing amazing in the space because they have educated themselves. So I want to see more of these people landing jobs, having careers in the space, and also building. So that's what I want to see in the next 5 years.
Okay, so we are going to take questions from the audience in a bit, but I'll let Cannelle tell us what her thoughts are when it comes to what DeFi will look like in the next 5 years before we take the questions.
Yeah, so just like my the other panelists mentioned, it's definitely going to contribute to financial emancipation for Africa and in Africa as a whole, right? The more people are going to understand that it's an easier way to access, again, I'm talking about my respective industry, loans. It allows you to invest without having $1 million into a piece of real estate, right? It allows for security. The more people will understand the added value of DeFi, the more adoption there will be, right? So I would say that in 5 years, it will be most institutions will have adopted DeFi.
Awesome, thanks for that. We'll now take questions from the audience on DeFi for Africa, present to the future. Does anyone have any questions? I think there's a gentleman here.
Hi, everyone. So my question, Principal is my name, Principal from Moctamal. My question is around, a lot has been said around education is a huge challenge across Africa. But I think that a lot of people are doing different things across the continent, just in different areas. How can all that become really well aggregated so that it's really scalable, and you don't always have to come to a place where maybe the next decade we're back to, let's go back to educating another generation of Africans, so that this is embedded in maybe our education sector and it's just continuous, because it's not just in this space. Everything that concerns tech, I've also worked in the job tech sector. You find out that there's still that education gap. I currently work in the insurtech sector. You still find that same education gap. How can we, across board for tech in Africa, make it sure that next generation that is coming, this is happening, the next one that is coming, it's just there? Thank you.
Okay, great question. I'll let my panelists take that, and then I'll also share my thoughts. So who wants to go first?
Yes. I think I have a little bit of something to share on that. First, let me just discuss what we are doing about educating people on this Web3 space. Just like I mentioned, we recently had an agreement with 7 universities in Tanzania, to train them on blockchain technologies, to have boot camps, hackathons, and pitch fest, in a way to encourage them to also come into the Web3 space. And on the Africa Blockchain Institute, which was started in Rwanda, that was in 2018, 2019. Then recently we had an agreement with the University of Namibia as well to offer a BSc and MSc in blockchain technology. But no matter what, we are still not doing enough. So we should actually encourage the government to look into, including this in the curriculums of universities, of secondary schools. Catch them young, and even when they're in the universities, still included in the curriculum, even though it might be courses that are optional. it doesn't have to be compulsory courses, but still give them the opportunity to actually learn within the walls of the university. And even afterwards, encourage them to also look into how they can deploy solutions within their respective professions, how they can utilize, how they can leverage on the technology, to improve the deliverables. So we are still not doing enough, but educating people is actually one of the basic things that can foster adoption across Africa. So it's a challenge for everyone, and let's do it together.
Okay, awesome. I think there's a part of the question that is asking for us to consolidate our efforts and find a way to come together. This is the thing. So on how to make sure the next generation is fine and is not a generation that does not know anything about crypto, I think it's just a matter of we doing our part as individuals. Forget the brands, just individuals consistently telling everyone they meet that DeFi is the future. I mean, the only reason why you care about car brands is because someone told you that cars are important, and then from caring about cars, you then begin to ask yourself, which brand should I care about? So you need to start from there. You need to get people to care about DeFi before they even start caring about the brands. Everyone or a lot of people convince people that cars are an essential part of your life. You need to have a car, or a car is an important thing. We need to get to the point where everybody wakes up and it's like, I need a DeFi account, like I need to be exposed to DeFi some way, somehow, and then the adoption will follow. Talking about bringing everybody together, that is the problem, right? It's a problem because you don't want to become a gatekeeper. This conversation about gatekeepers is a very long conversation that I don't think we can have here, but you are saying something is decentralized, right? So you're going to have to allow people to do things the way they want to do them, even in instances where it may not be the best. So what then happens is that the good people, or the people that are ready to teach DeFi properly, need to find a way to amplify their voice over the bad people, so that people would go to the right people for information. Because in a decentralized world, you can't really tell people not to speak, not to say certain things, or to only do things the way that you want them to. Because in as much as we are trying to be very careful about what we say, we don't want to roll back on the ideologies that brought us to where we are now. So I think there's a very strong tension in our attempt to consolidate our efforts and come together, and censoring people or trying to gatekeep the industry. I don't know if you get what I'm arriving at, but yeah, I think that's an issue that we need to look at. There was a second question over there. Yes. Okay, that's the last question.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Nubi. I lead status program at Paystack. On accelerating just DeFi adoption. So again, it seems to be a matter of when and not if.
Can you please speak up?
Thank you. Accelerating DeFi adoption seems to be a matter of when and not if. And I'm just thinking, in terms of accelerating, should we be focusing on the players or the game? And what I mean by that is that when you're saying, oh, keep pushing, stakeholders will come around eventually, should we be looking at us creating alternative markets, alternative spaces, where it's oh, maybe when they see it, then they would follow. So should we look at focusing on getting stakeholders in Web 2 or non-DeFi? And adopt, or should we be saying, okay, let's just create spaces where we're creating a new game with different players, with new players, and then these ones actually perhaps come play in that space. So just thoughts on, again, player or game approach.
Okay, so I think if I get the question right, our friend from Paystack is asking if we should create an entirely alternative market for DeFi, in the sense that we have new apps, new brands coming up just as DeFi brands, or we put DeFi or we integrate DeFi into existing brands, probably like Paystack. So I'll start with Vicentia, then I'll go to Cannelle, and then I think that would be it for the answers.
I think that sounds really great, integrating the blockchain into the existing Web 2, because that's where a lot of people are comfortable with. Web 3 is new, it's newer, let me just put it that way. So if we can incorporate these, I really can't wait for the moment where we can have a bridge between the traditional finance and blockchain or crypto. It's going to be the most amazing and beautiful thing, right? Where you can go into your banking app and you can just click on a button to convert to crypto, something like that. So I think with that, we can have a lot more people coming to the space because they already understand Web 2 and the traditional space. So if you find ways of integrating the blockchain, DeFi, into the existing things and adding education, I think we can have more people coming in than we creating something totally new.